You want to get a plastic bowl, a ceramic bowl, or a glass bowl, and a plastic spoon or a wooden spoon to mix your henna with. So I'm going to take about 2 tablespoons of henna. Now, 2 tablespoons of henna will probably get you about 5 to 6 designs. I'm going to add a little bit more henna. I'm going to do 2 more tablespoons of henna. So I have enough to use for a while. This will actually only stay good for a week in the refrigerator after it's mixed. It'll stay good for probably about 2 or 3 weeks in the freezer. You don't want to freeze anything less than 2 ounces. If it's less than 2 ounces, it's not going to say it's fresh. So I have the henna powder here. I have my plastic spoon. And you don't want to let it sit out in the air too long. You want to kind of get it mixed and get it into a sealed container as quickly as possible so it's not exposed in air. I just use fresh lemon juice. You want to make sure it's room temperature. So I'm going to just pour it in slowly. You don't want to pour it in too fast because then all of a sudden the henna will get a little clumpy. So I start off with a little bit and then I just start to stir. And it's going to get to be a nice paste. You're going to keep stirring it and then add a little bit more lemon juice. Now I don't need to measure the lemon juice because I just want to look for a nice paste that's going to be like the consistency of ketchup or toothpaste. And I want to keep on mixing and mixing until I get any clumps out of it. Now you can always add more henna powder to the mix if you added too much lemon juice. So don't be afraid that you put in too much in or too less. So now it's getting to be a nice consistency. I'm smushing out all the bumps, and you have to keep stirring and stirring and stirring because it gets very clumpy. And if you get any of these clumps in your cone or in your bottle, you're not really going to be able to do your henna designs very easily or smoothly. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take some plastic wrap here, and you're going to cover your henna, and you're going to let it sit overnight. And the thing that you want to know about your henna paste is that you actually have to let it sit for at least 6 hours before you can actually use the henna. You can't mix fresh henna powder and then use it to make your art right away because the plant actually has to become activated with the lemon juice. So it makes the acid of the lemons and the acid of the plant come out, and the dye then releases from the plant itself. You'll see there's a really beautiful pool of oil that kind of comes to the surface, and it's a glazy orange color. So that means that the henna is ready to be used. Then you can either take eucalyptus oil or you can take tea tree oil. Now tea tree oil is what I use because it has the highest amount of terpenes that are used to help activate the plant to have a nice rich stain. You want to not put in too much oil depending on how much henna powder you've mixed. Sometimes if you only have mixed like 2 to 4 tablespoons of henna, you can put in just about 4 to 6 drops depending on how much you like the smell or not. If you have a box of henna like this, which is about 100 grams, you can actually put in about 10 milliliters of oil to mix with a full box of henna, which gives you about a big container around this size, which is about 8 to 10 ounces of henna. So what I mixed here is about, I would say, 4 ounces of henna. So I'm only going to use about 7 drops of oil. Now you can use a little beaker or a little eyedropper, but I just pour it in because I can see the consistency that the henna gets into. Now it smells really nice. Some people put lavender oil, some people put clove oil. Really, it's up to you. Some people have special blends of oil because it's just really nice for bridal events. Women like different scents. They can put cardamom oil, jasmine, and just make it really pretty smelling. But the tea tree oil and the eucalyptus oil are really the 2 oils that you want to use to have a really beautiful stain in your henna paste. These are some rolled cones. You can buy these. They're really nice to use. You can get some nice, really fine lines. And what you can do is you can just take your henna and slowly pour it in here. This is the end result of a filled cone that's ready to do henna. And this you can put in the refrigerator and it will stay good for a week. These are jacquard bottles. They have a nice fine metal tip and they're screwed on. You can just open the bottle and you can slowly just put the henna right in it, and you have to squeeze it, push it in, tap it down, and squeeze the bottle until until the henna goes right in there. Okay, so now I'm going to take the rest of this henna paste and I'm going to put it into my bottle here. And it's kind of just a squeeze technique. It's really messy, so you try not to get it on your clothes. Try not to wear white. You basically tap the henna down. This is a huge container of henna that I got. This is probably 12 ounces here. And this is going to be good in my freezer for at least 6 months. Now you can always add fresh lemon juice to revitalize the henna paste. Just a few drops of fresh lemon juice can do the job to reactivate the plant. You can put in a little bit more of your tea tree oil to give it a little bit more juice to reawaken the plant if it's a little bit old. Or you can add a little bit more fresh henna powder to kind of reawaken the henna to become more active. You can clean the skin with peroxide, soap and water, and then you can kind of treat it with some rose water, and that's what they do as a nice ceremonial piece before you do a nice mending design, and it smells really beautiful. What you're going to do is get the skin nice and clean. You don't want to hold either a cone or the tip of the applicator too close to the skin, because if you do, the henna's not going to come out and it's going to be hard. So you just squeeze nice, and you can start to make a pattern, but holding it above the skin. Having nice fluid lines. Don't be afraid to just have fun with the henna. It's just an experience, and the more that you do it, the better that you'll become at it. Start off with simple patterns. You can do mango leaves, you can do pays leaves. You can do anything that your heart desires. That's the fun thing about henna. It's really your own creative spirit and design that comes out when you're doing henna. And the best thing to do is to practice on yourself, because this way you have a first-hand experience of how the henna looks and how it feels going on the skin. So now I'm just going to start. I just did this little basic leaf pattern, and you're going to let this sit on the skin for 20 minutes at least, a half an hour it's going to take to dry. So here's a little leaf pattern that I did on the top of my hand. It's wet. It's just like mud. You don't want to bump it. You don't want to hit it. You don't want to get it on your clothes. After the first half an hour is up, you really want to be careful of your henna design for an hour. You want to make sure it's on the skin and that you're not kind of overly doing things that are too active. You don't want to be moving your hand a lot. You don't want to be washing anything or doing anything that's going to disrupt the henna. You want to stay out of water for the first 24 hours after you get your henna done. No water if you can. And then you want to stay out of chlorine pools, you want to stay out of hot tubs, you want to stay away from sunscreens, and you want to stay away from any chemicals that might be in lotions and stuff like that. Only use pure natural oils like olive oil, sesame oil, almond oil, and Vaseline to protect your henna designs. An hour after the henna's been on the skin, you can take just a little bit of lemon juice, basically about a teaspoon, and a teaspoon of sugar. Mix that up, and you can take a cotton swab or a cotton ball and dab it. Then you're going to dab your little henna pattern that's dry, and it's going to soak the henna into the skin. Then if you want to go one extra step, you can actually take a piece of saran wrap. After the henna and the lemon juice have sat for another half an hour and it's dried out a little bit more, you can take some saran wrap and place it over your henna pattern. And they can wrap the skin and the henna, and you're going to leave that on overnight. This is what brides do after an hour when they're going to get married. They get all of the henna patterns done on their hands, they re-soak it with a little bit of lemon juice and sugar, and then they can wrap it in saran wrap, and then they sleep that way at night. The henna's going to slowly crumble off. It's going to go from the mud to a crust, and then over 2 to 3 hours, the henna will just kind of fall off all by itself. You want to keep the henna on for at least 6 hours, if not 12 hours. The longer that you keep this henna paste on your skin, the darker your stain's going to be. You're going to see a stain that's actually just orange. It's not going to be the rich red stain yet. It's going to take 24 hours for that stain to appear into the reddish brown color that mostly people know of as the Mendi color. Your henna design will last for 1 week up to 2 weeks, depending on how much you shower and how much you scrub where your henna is.